This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
South Sudan's president dissolves parliament as part of a peace deal. "27 Nigerian kidnapped students reunited with their parents." And authorities in Cairo clamp down on people violating COVID-19 measures. Welcome to Africa Live on CGTN with me, Beatrice Marshall, in Nairobi. Also coming up on the program, a series of attacks forces thousands to flee their homes in Burkina Faso. And China Sinopharm vaccine likely to improve access to COVID-19 jabs in Africa. South Sudan's President Salva Kiir has dissolved parliament. The dissolution of parliament is in line with a peace deal signed 3 years ago, which states that almost a quarter of the members of parliament would come from the party of Riek Machar. Machar is a former rival to President Kiir and is now the country's first vice president. The majority, though, of the 550 legislators will be from the governing SPLM party. The new members of parliament will not be elected, but will instead be nominated by different political parties. Well, let's cross over to CGTN's Patrick Oyet. He's joining us for more from Juba. Patrick, exactly what does the dissolving of parliament mean?
Yeah, Beatrice, the dissolution of the parliament, first of all, means that the peace deal implementation is moving forward at least by one step. You know, this parliament was supposed to have been dissolved more than a year ago, actually, when the 2018 peace agreement was signed. The agreement was supposed to be tabled before the parliament. The parliament was supposed to ratify it and dissolve itself, supposed to go home to pave the way for formation of a new parliament. This did not happen. They tried to amend the peace deal and they remained. And of course, whatever this parliament has been doing has not been binding on other parties, because all the members of parliament, or majority of them, belong to President Salva Kiir or loyal to President Salva Kiir, plus some opposition parties that are also affiliated to President Salva Kiir. So other parties were actually refusing whatever resolution the parliament was coming with. So it is an overdue. Actually, the resolution has taken longer than people even expected. So it's likely that this is now going to lead to formation of a new parliament. But then many of the civil societies and political analysts that we talk to here say they are a little bit concerned because the way the dissolution of parliament took very long. It means also there might still be delay in formation of the new parliament, even though the other parliament was not doing anything. Even when they could summon a minister would refuse to come, and they did not just have anything to do because people were looking at them like they were there illegally. So yes, it is true that now at least one step forward has been made in as far as implementation of the peace deal is concerned, but many are now shifting focus to making sure that the new parliament is formed.
So the focus has shifted now, but of course many will be asking, what is the next step now that parliament has been dissolved?
Yes, the next step now that parliament has been dissolved is to actually form the new parliament. The new parliament is supposed to comprise of 5 different parties that signed the 2018 peace agreement. Of course, that is including the party that is led by President Salva Kiir. That party is supposed to have 332 members of parliament. And then the opposition leader, Dr. Riek Machar, who is currently the first vice president, is supposed to send in 128. Other political parties, 50. And then opposition group, 50. And then a group known as former detainees will send 10, making a total of 550 members of parliament. And then if that is formed and they are sworn in, the first job that they will have to do is, of course, to ensure that a budget is passed, because up to now, the country doesn't have a budget that is working on. All the ministries are working on emergencies. You know, you come up with the emergency budget, it is passed by the president, and then you operate. And this has made the implementation of peace deal very, very difficult, because there are, for example, new ministries that have been created. They don't have even infrastructure. They do not have money. So establishing those ministries have been extremely difficult, because there is no parliament that has passed a budget. So if that parliament is formed, one of the tasks will be to make sure a budget is passed, and to make sure that other sectors that were supposed to be reformed according to the peace deal that are still lagging behind to be pushed forward, Beatrice.
All right, Patrick Oyet joining us there from Juba with the latest developments from South Sudan. 27 Nigerian college students who were freed by their abductors recently have now been reunited with their parents. Gunmen had kidnapped the students of the College of Forestry Mechanization from the school premises in March of this year and held them hostage for over 50 days. 10 of the students were later released, while the kidnappers held on to the remaining students until last Thursday, when they were eventually released. Here is CGTN's Deji Badmos with the rest of the story.
Shouts of joy rent the air as the 27 students were driven into the school, where they were kidnapped from over 50 days ago. One after the other, the students disembarked from the buses and marched into the school hall to meet with their parents, relatives and friends. Inside the packed hall, the joy was clear as the students finally reunited with their parents. It's a moment the parents had looked forward to for weeks, and they could not hold back their joy as it unfolded.
I am overjoyed. My daughter was held in the forest for 56 days. And now she has come back alive. I just can't thank God enough. I also thank all those who put in the effort to ensure the students were released from captivity. I thank God and I thank everyone.
The release of the students was facilitated by a controversial Islamic cleric in the state after the government refused to pay a ransom of over $1 million, which the kidnappers had demanded. The freed students say they went through a lot of torture in captivity.
It wasn't easy at all. First, so many challenges, no food. We drink dirty water. We don't even take our baths, not even brush. We feed on mangoes at times, that's if they want to. It has not been easy. Although the experience, it has not been easy. It is hell. Just thank God that God has finally heard our prayer and bring us out of that mess.
I have hope that I'm going to come back, but sometimes I'll say, God, is it how my life will end? I cannot suffer this kind of suffering, but I thank God. It's time for us to live.
I was among the first batch that were released on the 5th of April. We really experienced a lot, seriously. Being there is not easy, it's not nice, seriously. We really suffered there. The water that we used to drink alone, God, this is something else. So we really thank God, we appreciate God for saving our lives.
Most of the parents say their children will not be coming back to school anytime soon until they are sure adequate security arrangements are in place to guarantee their safety. And as this sad chapter closes, attention has now fully shifted to an unspecified number of students of a private university also in the same state who were kidnapped last month. Their captors have killed 5 of them, threatening to kill the remaining hostages if their ransom demands are not met. Deji Badmos, CGTN, Kaduna, Nigeria.
The UN Refugee Agency says 45 people have been killed and more than 17,500 others displaced from their homes in Burkina Faso over the past 10 days. Gunmen have carried out several attacks in 3 separate regions in the West African nation. They set homes on fire and shot civilians dead during their attacks. The assailants also ransacked health centers. Attacks by armed groups linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State have increased sharply since the start of the year. Burkina Faso's ill-equipped army has struggled to contain the spread of violence. Well, let's now cross over to David Otto Endele. He's an international defense and security analyst. He's a director on security for the Horn of Africa Institute for Peace and Security, and he's based in London. David, thank you for joining us on Africa Live. So why are we seeing a sudden rise in attacks in Burkina Faso?
Of course, it's not just Burkina Faso. This is a typical behavior of non-state actors that are linked to both Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State in the Liptako Goma region. I mean, this is where the northeast of Burkina Faso meets the north of Mali, but also Niger Republic. It's a very complex triangle. And what we've seen is that local militias that are linked to either Al-Qaeda or the Islamic State continuously try to dominate, very much, destroy or disrupt the social contract, in ungoverned and ungovernable spaces that, the government has very difficulty, expressing its authority. So I think what is happening is not something which is very new. Of course, just in the past 10 days, we saw an attack on the same region, which about 30 people were killed. We also saw the killing of, one Irish and two Spaniards, who, were there in the same region. So, it's not a new, type of attack. And, we've seen this in the recent past. And I'm afraid that this might continue, to increase, just like we've seen in the case of Mali and Niger Republic.
So, David, the European Union and the United States have called for a change in strategy, especially in Nigeria. Do you think this can work?
Of course, there is a need for a change of strategy, but I don't think it's in the position of the European Union or the United States or any other country to call for a change of strategy. This is something that has to be done within the states that are impacted themselves. At worst, you should have the African Union calling for a change of strategy. Now, in order to defeat these jihadist groups, within this region, of course, you need to have a comprehensive strategy that looks at the economic impact of, recruitment within this region, look at the kinetics which is being used, and the ability for these countries to collaborate. Again, as I mentioned earlier on, these attacks are taking place in an area that is not only linked to the Sahel, but also has very close links to the Lake Chad Basin, which, of course, Nigeria is one of the countries. So I think, the important element here is for these nations that are impacted, to call the attention of the African Union, which is in charge of the region, of course, rather than wait for, the European Union or the United States, to give instructions or make remarks about, the need for a strategy. It has to be an African-led, endeavor. And, that's where I think the focus should really be.
All right, David Otto Endele joining us there via Zoom from London. Thank you. China's Sinopharm Group has received the World Health Organization's approval for the use of its COVID-19 vaccine. The decision by the global health body could soon pave the way for a wider rollout of vaccines around the world. CGTN's Daniel Arapmoy reports.
Sinopharm vaccine becomes the 6th to receive WHO validation for safety, efficacy and quality. The vaccine is produced by the Beijing Bio-Institute of Biological Products Company Limited. Analysts say the approval of the vaccine is likely to improve access to COVID-19 jabs in struggling African nations.
It is going to be very, very important for Africa to tap into that friendship with China. As you do know, vaccine nationalism has hit Africa hard because major powers have been holding vaccines even when they have more than their population needs. Some have even 3 times more.
The World Health Organization is also expected to reach a decision on the use of China's other COVID-19 vaccine made by Sinovac Biotech.
We see here a possibility of the Chinese vaccine being used in major emergencies in Africa, particularly where countries' medical facilities have been overwhelmed.
More than 200 million doses of the Sinovac jab have been given to countries that have faced challenges in securing supplies of vaccines developed in the West. According to the World Health Organization, the Sinopharm vaccine is recommended for use in adults 18 years and older in a 2-dose schedule with a spacing of 3 to 4 weeks. The WHO has urged countries using the vaccine in all the age groups to conduct safety and effectiveness monitoring as inoculations continue. Daniel Arab Moi, CGTN, Nairobi, Kenya.
You're watching Africa Live. Still ahead on the program. Authorities in Cairo clamped down on people violating COVID-19 measures. And Tunisian TV series highlights illegal migrants' plight.
Africa is a continent of diversity, with varied climates and enchanting geography, and a people so distinct, but with a shared enduring spirit. We are at the heart of the continent to bring you the untold stories.
Let's have a look.
We celebrate Africa as it shapes its own destiny.
Tunis, Cairo,
Juba, Ethiopia, Tanzania.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Egyptian health authorities have begun random inspections of shops, cafes and restaurants to find out if they are observing all the anti-COVID-19 measures. The authorities have already shut down some establishments that violated the health regulations. Coronavirus infection rates in Egypt have been increasing since early March as the country heads to the peak of its third wave. Here is Adel Mahroui with more details.
COVID-19 daily infections and deaths from the disease appear to be heading quickly to a domestic record. The problem of people violating government's health preventive measures has become quite common here in the Egyptian capital. It's why Cairo's governor is personally leading surprise inspections to make sure that all the required health measures are in place and are always observed.
We surprised this neighborhood with an inspection visit. It is known for having many cafes. A huge number of visitors come here. We've also confiscated water pipers which are banned during the pandemic. We've also fined citizens who are not wearing masks.
Restaurants, cafes and shops are only allowed to serve up to 50% of their usual customer capacity. Violators face having their premises shut down for a week and could end up paying around $250 in fines. This cafe will, however, be shut for at least 1 month. That's because it served shisha, a popular smoking water pipe which is usually shared by customers. Fearing further spikes in infections, the government banned shisha usage indefinitely since Egypt declared its COVID-19 pandemic a health emergency in March 2020.
Until the pandemic is officially over, we will continue these law enforcement campaigns in Cairo and across the Republic. Observing health measures is a must. That is to preserve people's health. The state implemented these measures to avoid a health service crisis.
A commercial place that repeatedly flouts the health safety guidelines faces triple the shutdown duration and financial penalties. Individuals who do not wear face masks indoors or during their rides on any public transportation service face up to $10 in fines. Adel Mahroui, CGTN, Cairo.
A new Tunisian television series called Harga, which means irregular migration in the North African dialect, has attracted millions of viewers. The show aired during the Islamic holy month of Ramadan and shed light on the issue of irregular migration from Tunisia and Africa to Italy.
Harga depicts the stories of men, women and children, as well as elderly people of all origins and nationalities who risk their lives to reach European shores. These irregular migrants who resort to services provided by profit-seeking smugglers could face death, deportation, prison, or human trafficking.
We're trying to answer the following question. Why do people resort to irregular migration? Is it a search for better economic and social conditions? Is it because people no longer belong to their homeland? Is it an identity crisis? Is the aftermath of the sea crossing and risky journey an easy road to paradise, or a mere illusion which leads to death at sea or inhumane treatment and humiliation? This reality makes people regret, and there's no turning back.
Director Lesad Lousleti says fiction and reality intertwine in the 20-episode TV series. Harga tells the story of irregular migrants. It is also a tribute to the families who lost their sons or daughters in the Mediterranean.
The families of lost migrants are present in this series as actors. The best actors cannot feel what the parents are feeling. This work is a mixture and combination of documentary and fiction at the level of the story and the technique.
In 2017, Fathiya's son attempted to cross the Mediterranean to reach the Italian island of Lampedusa. The boat carrying the young man and dozens of irregular migrants had broken down. All people on board the makeshift vessel were reported missing.
I want my son back. I don't feel alive since he crossed the sea. I want to know his whereabouts. I'm sick. I don't sleep at night. I want my son back. The government and the whole world should listen to me and bring him back.
Tunisian, Libyan, Algerian, Moroccan and Sub-Saharan actors, as well as actors from Italy, are the main characters in Harga. The series will be available in different languages and on several streaming services in the next few months. According to the International Organization for Migration, hundreds of deaths are recorded each year on the main Mediterranean sea routes to Europe. Harga, the Ramadan TV series, shows the danger of irregular migration and explains the root causes of this international phenomenon. Adnan Shawishi, CGTN, Tunis.
Let's now take a look at your sports news. Here's what's ahead.